This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, now the recording has been started. Now see here, we have seen a lot of things on the tables. We have seen mappings, and the next step would be to methods. Okay, so here, coming to the methods, I would like to discuss those methods after a little more time. Okay, I want to first of all explain you about the code, and then I want to go for the methods. Okay, because now if I explain the code, there will be difficulties in understanding. So first of all, let's discuss about the whole set of code. We will see how to work with the classes starting from today, and then we will go to the code part where it is a methods. Okay, we will see methods, events. I will explain you in detail. I will take the standard set of tables and I will show you how to customize them. I will show you how to work with the methods in the newly implemented tables. We will see all those stuff. Okay, yeah, just a second, let the build finish. And I think I have not created one table, which is inventory. I will create that table as well. Okay, I will create that table on the later point in time. You can also create the table. I think there is only one table which we have left. Is that right? Customer, sales table, sales sign, only inventory table. Okay, so this table I will create later on so that we can see some good reports. Just a second, let the build finish. Okay, let's do one thing. In the meantime, we can discuss on what is what. So see here, now we will start the coding part. Okay, and I want to call it as a classes. Coming to the classes, there are mainly two different types of classes that you can create in Dynamics 365. First one is called a normal class, and the second one is called a runnable class. Okay, and this runnable class is called a job. Okay, if you want to execute a class directly, if you have some small piece of business logic, if you have some small piece of business logic and you want to execute it along with the class, okay, you want to execute it and you want to test that business logic, then we are going to create a runnable class and we will call it as a job. We will call it as a runnable class and it is a job in AX 2012. Okay, now whenever we are working with any programming language, the first thing we need to know is about data types. Okay, these data types are similar in all the programming languages, I can say. Okay, only the names will change here and there, remaining everything will be same for the data types. From that, what is the basic data type that everyone will use? The basic data type that everyone will use is a integer, and we also have this integer in x++, and this integer is either a 32-bit or 4-byte, or it can be a 64-bit value. So we have two types of integers in Dynamics 365. One is called int and the second one is called int64. One is called int and the second one is called int64. Okay, now see here, coming to the front end. Currently, I want to remove the sync. Whenever you are working with the code or whenever you are working with the forms, there is no need of synchronizing the database here because your code is not going to sit in database. Your code is a metadata XML file. So what is the purpose of syncing it? It's no more needed. So whatever I need to do is I need to disable the synchronization and then I need to set it to false. Now the next step, click on the add button, new item, and already I have showed you how to create a class by using a my first program. So today I will go to code, I will create a runnable class. I will call this class as AMA data types. Okay, so today we will see what are the different types of data that we have available in Dynamics 365. Okay, so the only difference between a class and the runnable class is a class will not have the main method in it. A runnable class will have main method in it. Okay, a class will not have main method in it. A runnable class will have main method in it. Okay, I think it's creating a class. Let's wait for a minute. Okay, you can see now it has added a new class for us, and it has got the main method. Okay, a static void main method. Now let me write some piece of code here. Okay, I told you the data types. First one is integers. Okay, coming to the integer, we have int, we have int, and then I will call int value equal to, integer means you can have positive and you can have negative values. Okay, we can have positive and you can have negative values. Okay, I don't want to go with the size. Okay, so what is the minimum and maximum size? Because 2 power 32, okay, it's a 32-bit value, you can divide it by 2. 2 power 64 is a 64-bit value. If you divide it by 2, it will become a signed integer. Okay, so this is how we used to calculate. If you want to get the values, you can go and check in the MSDN. Okay, what is the minimum and maximum value? Because no one is going to ask you here in the interview, no one is going to ask you what is the maximum size of integer, what is the minimum size of the integer. No one will ask these questions for an ERP. Okay, but we need to know how to use them, which is why I'm explaining you all this. Okay, so this is the integer value. I will say minus 10. Integer means you can either store the positive values or negative values. And coming to the 32-bit integer, the range will be from minus 214 crore to plus 214 crore. Similarly, we have a value called int 64. This is 64-bit integer. This is 64-bit integer, and this can have a very big value. Okay, like this, you can have some very big value for integer. Okay, if you ask me number of characters, it will be around a lot, 2 power 32 minus 2 power 32 plus 2 power 32, which is a very big value. You can calculate that. Okay, I'm giving some big value for int 64. Okay, and this is about the integer. If we know about the integer, we need to know about the decimal point values. The decimal point of values are called reals, and we have a type called real. Okay, we have a data type called real, and you can store the real value in it, 3.14. Okay, we are going to use real to store the value of decimal data type. And similarly, we have a string. Okay, so how to store strings? We need to use a keyword called str, and then you need to say string value equal to hello world. Okay, this is how we are going to use string. And along with this, we have a type called boolean. Actually, this boolean, I want to call it as a enum, enumerated data type. This will have only two values in it. Okay, what are those two values? Either true or false. I am setting it to true. By default, the value will be false. By default, the value will be false. And similarly, what's next? This is about a boolean value. And then we have something called GUID, global unique identifier. Global unique identifier, we will call it as a 16-byte or a 128-bit integer. Okay, and it will be unique across the world. And I can say, if you ask me, oh, it will be unique all the time, the possibility of duplication is very, very low for a global unique identifier. Okay, for a global unique identifier. So if you want to create a GUID, you need to use a type called GUID, and you can say GUID value equal to new GUID. This is a method. Okay, this is a method in the global class. Already we have the classes now. This is a method. Using this, we can generate a GUID, global unique identifier. And in the similar fashion, we have a type called dates. We have a type called date. You can use this date type to store value of date. I will say today. Done. And similarly, we have a type for date time. So what is the type? It is UTC date time. And if you want to get the date time value, which is current date time, we have a system class called date time util. Okay, we have a system class called date time util, and then here you will have get system date time. If you want to get the date, you can get the date. If you want to get the date time, you can get the date time. Oh, sometimes people used to ask me, suppose let's say if I want to give some default value, how can I do that? Instead of doing this, you can say 2020 hyphen 06 hyphen 21 T00 colon 00 colon 00. This is how you need to set the date time value. This is how we need to set the date time value. Okay, this is how we need to set the date time value. And similarly, if you want to use the enums, you can use enumerated data type. For example, we have created AMA gender. This is one of the enum. You can say gender here. Okay, this is your enumerated data type, and you can simply write gender equal to, or let me set it here itself, gender equal to AMA gender colon colon male. Done. Oh, this is how we can use the enumerated data types. And similarly, if you want to store time, there is a type called time of the day. Okay, actually this will store the integer value. Okay, and the value is limited from 0 towards 86,400. Okay, in MSDN they have given this as a type, primitive data type, but I want to call this as an extended data type because that is a EDT itself. EDT, and it is a restricted EDT. You would be able to store only values between 0 to 86,400 in it. Okay, and you can say val equal to some 85,000. Like this you can store. Okay, this is about the primitive data types. Along with this, we have one more type, and we call it as any type. Okay, so what is this any type? I will say any type, and I will say any val equal to, or I will not say equal to here. Okay, I will say any val equal to int val. Any val equal to int 64 value. Any val equal to string value. Okay, now what we will do is, this is about the different types of primitive data types that are available in Dynamics 365. Okay, Dynamics 365. Now first of all we will debug and we will move further. See here, if you want to debug the code, first of all go to debug, and if you go to options, you can see Dynamics 365 menu in it. If you expand, you can find debugging. Here there are two options. Default browser. If you want to change, you can change. Load symbols only for items in the solution. If you use this, it will load only symbols for this solution. If you want to load symbols across, then uncheck this checkbox. Then what it will do? It will load the symbols for system as well. It will load the symbols for system as well. Click on OK button. Done. We are done. Now add a breakpoint. Okay, either you can do a rebuild or you can directly run it. If you want to run this, set this AMA data types as the startup object. You need to set this AMA data types as the startup object. You have the start button here. Click on the start. Let's wait for a minute. Okay, now you will see the difference. When we do a build with sync, it used to take a long time. Now let's see how much time it takes.
Kumar, what is the shortcut key to add this breakpoint?
F9.
F9. Okay.
Can you see this? How much time it took without sync? Even I'm trying to debug now. I'm not building the code. Now see here, few of the times you will see this breakpoint in this fashion. If the breakpoint, if you see like this, it is not going to hit the breakpoint. Please remember that. Okay, it indicates that the symbols are not loaded. Okay, the symbols are not loaded. You can see now symbols are loading. It will obviously take more amount of time because we have removed load systems only for items in this solution. Okay, we have set it to false, so it will obviously take more time because it should load symbols across. Let's wait for a minute. You will see the process how it will run. It will restart the AOS and then it will run the URL back again, and it will create a URL to run the class now. Okay, it has not created it. Now it has created. Now you can see, because few of the times students used to ask me how to debug, and if I want to debug the class directly, you need to run in this fashion. You need to use sys class runner, and then you need to provide your class name. That will be enough. Sys class runner is the menu item. You need to provide the class name along with the company name. Then it will run for that particular company. Okay. And one more thing, there is one more problem that I found. See here in the solution explorer, you can see the objects are not checked out. Here it says plus button, and 90% this will not get debugged now. Okay, it will simply run and it will say class is completed. Let's see. Because whenever you are trying to debug something, you need to check out that object, then only you would be able to debug. Okay, we will do that within a minute. We will see if it debugs, it is fine. Otherwise we will check out and then we will debug.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Is there any difference between global class and system class?
Means
Um,
because global is one of the class in the application explorer. Okay, it's a system class only. That's why I did not get your question.
okay.
If you go to classes node in the AOT, you will find a class called global. Okay, in the application platform, you can see all the methods here. Char to max, buffer to bus, BIF to test, all this is okay. All the conversion methods and everything, you will have them here. Like this. Let's wait for a minute here. It's taking some time. Or you can do one more thing. Okay, if you think it is taking very long time, then you can simply stop this and then you can rerun this back again. Okay, because for the first time, obviously, because this is the first time I'm debugging on this, which is why it will take more amount of time. Okay, now it says running class AMI data types. What did it say? It did not hit the breakpoint. Okay, it's still loading. Let's wait for a minute. Okay, it has hit. That's good. Okay, but please remember, few of the times When you are working with the objects, it will not hit. Whatever you need to do is you need to check out the code. If you don't check out the code, it will not hit. Okay, just a second, it's still loading. Let it load. Okay, hope it is loaded. Yeah, good, it got loaded now. Okay, now you can see by default you will see all these things here. First one is autos, second one is locals, third one is watch one. Okay, if you want to add something to the watch, you need to simply right click here and you can add it to the watch. It will be visible here. Okay, if you want to add any number of watches, you can add any number of watches for the variable. And locals, whatever the local variables that you have here, all those will be listed down in this place. And autos, any globals, they will get added here. Okay, now you can see all these are the local variables. Now let me press F10. Okay, value is assigned, int64 value is assigned, real value is assigned, bool value is assigned, GOID value is assigned, date value is assigned, UTC date time, gender. Okay, you can see the value is changed to 1. Time of the day 85,000, any value. Can you see this? For this any value, I have given int, it is taking, int64 it is taking, str it is taking. Why? Let's see. By default, if you see for integer it took int, for int64 it took long, for real it took decimal, for str it took string, for boolean it took bool, for GOID it took system.GOID, for date it took system.date, it took system.date time, and this is a gender which is a AX application level. Okay, and can you see this? Any value I have assigned long, it took long. Now as I'm assigning string, it took string. This is any value because any value by default is a object type. Okay, if you want to store a class in the any type, you can do that. If you want to store a list, you can do that. If you want to store a string, you can do that. If you want to store int64, you can do that. If you want to store real, you can do that. Any type is used to store the value of any type of data. Okay, and along with this, coming to Dynamics 365, we have a type called var. Now let's try with var. Okay, var, I will say var value, and I'm not saying anything here. I will say var value equal to int val, var value equal to int64 val, var value equal to string val. Okay, save, done. What is this? It is showing some error here. Let's see. The implicit type value to be assigned to it. Remember, whenever you are using the var value, you need to assign it at any cost. Okay, so what I will do is I will remove this. Okay, this is first thing that we have learned. If you want to use a var type, you need to assign it, which is mandatory. Later on I am trying to change it. Now let's see what happens. Here it is again throwing the error, str to type int, and for this one int64 to int, the value will get truncated. Is that right? So when you're working with the var, it clearly indicates that you're working with an known type of value. Okay, var will accept only known type of value here. Okay, so at the compile time, it will check what is the type of value and then it is fixed. Okay, now let me assign this any val to var val. Save. Okay, because few of the times people used to ask this question as well for me. Suppose I want to convert var to any type, can I do that? Let's see if it throws the error or not, because this is one more question that I used to get. Okay, only few of the people used to ask it, so I want to just show you. I'm
I
using,
also did.
yep,
I also didn't get this where.
okay, now see here, var means during the compile time it will associate the type of value that you assign to it. Okay, during the compile time, whatever the type you assign, it will take the type. If you want to have any type of values in this var type, then you need to use any type here. Okay. Whereas if I take this integer value and if I paste this here, by default it will take integer type and it will not allow any other type of values to be assigned to it. Okay, if I assign int64 as well, what it will do? It will simply truncate the value. It will simply truncate the value. Okay, this is about the var type, and this is the difference between any type and var type. Okay, if you want to make var as any type, then simply assign the variable of any type to var type, then it will become any type. Okay, you can do that, but already you have the any type. Why again you will create one more type of variable and then you will assign it? Okay, that should not be done. Okay, now please remember one thing. Up to here, whatever we have discussed, you need to forget here itself, and going further, while writing the code, you should never use the primitive data type in your code. You should never use primitive data type in your code. Please remember this. Okay, I will tell you what is the reason for that. Okay, for example, in this udt strings, let's say I have the AMA mobile number. Okay, the size is 15. Now what I have done is, here I have defined str mobile number. Okay, str mobile number, and then I have added the value plus 9 1 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12. Now how many values will it take? The mobile number will accept this many values. Okay, while inserting into the table, how many values will it accept? It will accept only 15 values. Is it right? No, that's a wrong thing. You should never do that. So whatever we need to do is, instead of using the primitive data type, you need to use an extended data type. Instead of using the primitive data type, you should use extended data type. Whenever you are creating a variables, you should create using the extended data type. Okay, even here AMA gender, I have created a gender enum, but is it mandatory to create a enum here? No, because I'm storing only one value. Yeah, to store the one value, why to create a enum type? Instead of that, what you can do, you can create a enum and you can call it as AMA sex here. You can call AMA sex, and then you can say gender type equal to AMA gender colon. You can take male. This is how you need to work. Whenever you are creating a variables, you should create with extended data types. You should never use primitive data types to create the variables in Dynamics 365. Please remember this. Okay, you should never create values by using variables by using primitive data types. You should only create variables by using extended data types. Okay, please remember this. This is very, very important. Okay, I am doing a rebuild. Let's move further. Now I hope you understood what is a var, what is any type, and what are all these variables. Is it clear, or do you have any questions?
Kumar, basically you are trying to say these all are not used at all, primitive. So is there anywhere we use it, or this is just for informative or information?
It's not for information. Primitive
Okay.
data types, you should not use them in your code. Okay, only
Okay.
in few cases you will use them. For example, okay, we will call it as marshalling. Let's say you have a .NET object type. Okay, you have a .NET string, and you want to convert the .NET string into AX string. Then if you want to do the marshalling, okay, we don't know what is the size of the .NET string, so we will use the generic string here. Okay, only very few places we will use them. Whereas coming to your code, when you are working with the tables, and if you want to store the value for a table buffer which is a string, then you need to create using EDT. the type should be created by using EDT, and it should not be through primitive data type.
Yeah, got it.
Okay. Okay, now let's move forward. This is about the primitive data types. Okay, now what we will do is, now we know what are primitive data types and how to use them and what are all those, and how to use extended data types. Now you are clear on them. Now I want to move to the next one. I want to create one more runnable class. I want to call it as AMA composite data types. Okay, you can all, I want to call it as composite data types. Okay, or composite data types. Okay, let me create this later on. I will show you here itself what are collection classes nowadays. Okay, so see here in Dynamics 365 or any programming language, what is a composite data type? If you want to store the information collection, if you want to store the collection means if you have more than one value of integer, how to store that? If you have more than one value of string, how to store that? If you have an integer and a string and you want to store in a single collection, how to store them? Okay, if you have multiple values and if you want to store them, then we will use something called composite data types. We will use something called composite data types. And in this composite data types, we have array. What is the array? Array is a list of items with the same data type. Okay, how to work with the array? You can take the array, and then you can say array items equal to new array. Inside the bracket you can say types colon. Here you have multiple types. Any type means you can store any type of information in it. Blob means binary large object. If you want to store the blob data, you can store it. Class means if you want to store the class, you can store the class. Container means you can store the array container in an array. We will see the container very soon. Date means you can store the dates. Like this, you have all these things. Okay, I am taking the string here. I am taking string. If you want to take any other type, you can use that. I can say array items dot. You can see there will be a method. Okay, and you can see index comma argument. Okay, if it is in a square brackets, we will call it as an optional parameter. Okay, in future classes I will show you what is optional parameter and how to work with it. Now value, and here I will set index. Okay, I will set 0. Let's see what happens, whether it starts from 0 or 1 or what it is. We will see that. Okay, and then I will say yeah. Even in the single quotes you can add a value. It will consider even if you add in the single quotes as a string. I will say B. No, I will say C here, and this will be 1. And here I will say G, and this will be 2. And here I will say D, 3. The last one is I will say 4, and this will be B. Okay, I want to see what it is doing, whether it is sorting or not, or what is happening with the array. Okay, so this is about array. I have added the values. Let me add the breakpoint here, and let me take this composite data types, and let me set as the startup object. Run. See here, from here you need a lot of practice. You need to try a lot of programs, then only you'll be able to get it easily. Please remember, because daily we will be going to discuss a lot of programs and I will explaining you a lot of things. You need to go through the video and you need to practice. Okay, otherwise you will feel everything is new again. Okay, because we will finish off the classes and then again we will get back to the tables. We will see extensions, chain of command and everything in the tables. We will move to the forms, and then in the forms we will see them. Like this we are going to work with all those stuff. Okay, because here along with the classes itself I will explain you what is chain of command and what is the extension and what is event handler, what is event and how to use them and everything I will explain you in detail. Okay, so please practice daily. Frankly speaking, otherwise you will forget very easily.
So Kumar, just wanted to ask something. This is out of topic. So are we going to cover integration topics, because that
Yes,
is hot in market? Yeah.
I
Okay.
will
Okay.
cover the integration topics, but coming to the logic apps, I will just explain you how to work with them because I cannot consume using the logic apps.
Okay. Yep.
I don't
Thank you.
have, if any one of you have the subscription, and if you can provide that subscription, because we need the machine. That's the biggest problem here. This is a VM, so using this URL, we will not be able to work with it. Okay, it will simply throw the error. This is not a public API, so that I can consume in Logic app. Whereas in Visual Studio, how I will show you how to consume the services and how to work with them, how to perform the data integration and everything.
Okay. Thank you.
If you practice daily, you can work in all the topics in Dynamics 365. Okay, I'm going to cover each and everything. Okay, now it has hit the breakpoint. Now let me go to array items. Now you can see Microsoft Dynamics.xpp array. Good. Let me press F10. It throws the error. Okay, because read illegal array index, because array index 0 is not valid. Please remember this. Okay, whenever you want to store the values in the array, it will start at 1. I am saying this as 5. Okay, it will start the index in Dynamics 365 will start at 1 and not with 0. Please remember this, which is why I showed you that error. Okay, so this is about the arrays. And similarly, few of the times people used to ask me, oh, you're saying in this fashion, is there any other way with which we can use the array? Let me take a str and str val, and then I will say 5. Okay, I will say 5. Now how do I assign the values to this array? I am using str val, and then if you want to add a array values to this, you can assign that. This is also possible. Okay, if you want to assign in this fashion, you can do that. You can simply use the arrays as you're using in any other programming language. Okay, because few of the times people used to ask me, is it possible to work with multi-dimensional arrays? You can work here. If you want to work with multi-dimensional arrays, you can say 5 comma 10. You can say like this. This is a fixed length array. Okay, fixed length array with 10 elements and 5 in memory. Okay, because frankly speaking, in my career I never used this, but as it is there, I'm just explaining you. If you want to use the array in this fashion, you can do this way as well. You can do this way as well, and then you can simply assign the values to it. That is possible. Okay, because already we have the array. So why again to create in this fashion? This is not needed. Okay. Next, this is about the array. If you want to use the array by using the strings, integers, you can do that. Or if you want to use the array type, okay, this is a class, but I don't know why they have given it as a type, but this is a class. Okay. If you want to use array in this fashion, you can do that. That is also possible. The next collection data type is container. Remember, container is a type in Dynamics 365. Container is not a class. Okay. Now, what is a container? This is also a collection. There is no difference. If you ask me what is the difference between a container, what is the difference between this one, I will simply say container is also a type. Is it right or not? Container is also a type, collection type. So if you want to store the data in a collection, you can use container and then you can store it simply. Okay, you can store it simply. There is no big difference between container or array with any type, I will say. Okay, because few of the times again people used to ask me what is the difference between a container and an array. Okay, if you are using a container, you would be able to store the data of any type, the collection data of any type. And if you want to create a array using the same thing, you can create an array of any type and you will do the same thing here. There is no more difference. Okay, if you want to do that using array, create an array using any type and you can store the any type of value in it. That is also possible. Okay, now let's see how to work with the containers. See here, I will call this as con1 equal to, if you want to assign the values in a container, you need to use a square bracket. You need to use a square bracket. I will assign a integer value 1, 2, 3. I will assign a real value 3.14. I will assign a string value. I will say hello world. Okay, like this you can assign values for a container. And similarly, I will take one more container. I will say con2 equal to, I will take a string called a. I will take a number called 34, number called 36, number called 24, and then 3.14. Like this, you can take any number of values in a container. Okay, like this, you can take any number of values in a container. This is about the container. If you want to store the values of different types of data, then we will use a container. Okay, a container will store it as an object. So an object can store any type of data, which is why we would be able to store any type of data in a container. If you want to store a class, you can store class in a container. If you want to store whatever you want, you can store here. Okay, whatever you want, you can store. Okay, because people used to ask me, okay, let me do one thing. Let me use comma and then let's try. Okay, this is ARR items, which is a class. Let me try and check whether it is able to store or not. This is about a container. This is how, oh, it's not allowing. Sorry, I think, sorry. Okay, it's not allowing. Array, which is a class, is not allowed to add in a container. Okay, class type is not allowed. Sorry. Okay, so if you want to store only the primitive types of data, that means if you want to store the integer or a string or a real type or a enumerated type, you can store them in a container. Whereas coming to the classes, it is not allowed. Okay, I forgot this. That is in the any type. Okay, if you want to store classes, then here you can define types colon class. Here you can store, but whereas in the container you cannot store. Please remember that. Okay. Where is this one? I'm using a string here. str. Okay, done. Okay, now this is about a container. Now see here, I have assigned the values in this fashion. I use it equal to and assign, that is well and good. Now, is there any other way to assign a value to a container? Yeah, there are. Okay, we have a way. First one is I can use a operator called plus equal to. I am using con1 plus equal to, and then I will say hi. I will say hi. This is one way of assigning the value into a container. Okay, this is one way of assigning value into a container. Okay, and what is the second way, or what is the next way? Let me try this. We have one more way. I will say con2 equal to, we have a function called conins. Okay, and you can say container. I will say add the values to the container too. And then what is the start position? I will say third position and add the value starting with 1, 2, 3. I want to add 1, 2, 3 as the values for the container 2 starting with position 3. Okay, this is how we will use a function called con insert. Okay, whereas if you use plus equal to, it will add the values at the end of the container. If you add plus equal to, it will add the values at the end of the container. And whereas if you want to use at a specific position, then you need to use a method called con insert. What is the method name? Con insert. Container. Okay, now how to traverse through the container, because I have a lot of values in a container. How to get them here? How to get those values? To get those values, let me write a for loop for int counter equal to, okay, let me try with 0 here as well, and then counter is less than or equal to con length, means container length of con2. I need to say container length less than or equal to container length counter plus plus. Okay, here you can see the difference. I can use the types, I can declare the types in the middle of the code, in the middle of the code. Here as well, if you don't want to use int, you can say integer. Integer is a extended data type. Int is a primitive data type. Okay, you can do like this as well. And then here you can say any type. See here, I am using a container. Container can store the data of variable types. So I don't know what is the type of data it is storing. So I need to take any type to get the values from it. And then you can say value equal to fetch the values out of a container, we need to use a method called conpeek. And then I will say con2 comma counter. Okay, this is how we are going to work with containers. Similarly, few of the times we will have a requirement. I have a value called 3.14. I need to replace that 3.14 with some other value. Let's say, how to do that? To do that, we have a function called conpoke. CONPOKE. Okay, now the count will start with 1. This is the second position. Okay, here I want to see what happens, so I have given 0. Please remember, here it should be 1. Okay, I will say con1 equal to conpoke. Inside the bracket, I will use the container con1. I will give the position. The position is 2. I want to replace 3.14 with 4.13. Okay, I want to replace this value. So this is how we are going to use conpoke. And if you want to add multiple values here, okay, this is the start value. You can add 5.36, 4.26, like this. You can add any number of values you want. The container will add starting with position to there. This is about the container functions. Similarly, let's say you want to find a value in a container. Okay, sometimes you will have a requirement where you will want to find a value in a container. How to do that? How to do that? We have a function called confind. What is the function name? The function name is confind. Okay, you can try confind. This is the function name. It is returning the int. So let me take int position equal to confind, and then you need to use container con 1 comma object values. Okay, here I will say only one value, which is 4.13, and now I will say position equal to, I will take this confine and I will add the value. So, sorry. And again, I will copy this. Sorry. I will copy the entire line here. I will paste it here. I will say 4.13, comma 4.26, and here I will take the entire line. I will paste it over here, and I will say 4.1358. Okay. I want to see the difference. Here I am trying with one value. Here multiple values. One available, one not available. Both are available. Okay. Let's see how it will change. Now I will remove this breakpoint. I will add it here. Okay. And let me run. Now we will see how does the containers work. Similarly, few of the times people used to ask me, can we convert container to a string? Yeah, you can do convert string into a container and container into string as well. It's vice versa. Okay. We have a functions called con to str and str to con. Using those functions, we can convert container to string and string to container. Similarly, if you want to convert a container into a list, you have a function called con to list. You can convert container into list as well. Okay. Like this, you have more of functions here. You have a lot of functions. Okay. You can try them. You can try using them. The functions of the containers, you can try them. Okay. Let's wait for a minute. It is loading. And coming to this composite data types. Okay, one is array as a data type. Here you can use array as a data type. Second one is container as a data type. This is the container as a data type. And you have the third one, class as a data type. Okay, class as a composite data type. So there we are going to discuss something called collection classes. Okay, in the collection classes we have list, set, array. We have already seen array is also a collection class, but I don't know why they have given it as a array as a type. Okay, and we have array, list, set, struct, map. Okay, we will see all those things, how to work with them. I am waiting for it to finish here. Let's wait for a minute. Okay, it has hit the breakpoint. Now let me press. Now you can see these array items. CGDBA. It's not sorted. Please remember. Okay, and this is about a container. You can see here object of 3. As I told you, container will take the type of object, and you can see int decimal string. It can store data of any type. Plus equal to will add at the end. Okay, now you can see container of 4. It has added at the end. Insert will add at the position that we gave. Okay, now you can see contour got 8, and the values is at third position, and from the third position 1 2 3 1 2 3 we got it. Okay, and to pick the value from the container we will use conpeek, and you can see here the counter is working and it has got the value. Okay, this is 0. Sorry, for 0 you will not get any value. Where is this VAL? Okay, it got dismissed. Okay, for the initial position counter is 0. Here you can see it will start at the position 0 because this is a CIL code. Okay, this is a CIL, whereas coming to here it will start at 1. Now if I press F10, F10, now you can see conpeek of con2. What is the value here? The value is A. Now if you see the value is A. Here it shows 0, but it will pick the value from first position. Please remember, this is very, very important. Now let me run this. It will fetch all the values. Now this is about the replacing. Now you can see con1. In the con1 0 1 2 3, I told from starting from second position. That means 1 2 from 3.14 replace the values. Okay, F10. Now you can see it has replaced the value to 4.13, and then the next value is replaced to 5.36. The next value is replaced to 4.26. Done. Okay, if the values are there, it will replace. Next, I am trying to find the position of 4.13 in con1. I got the pos. Let's see what is the position. The position is second position. Good. Now let me press F10. The value is not available. If your value is not available when you try to find, the value will be 0. Position is 0. F10. 4.13, 4.26. I have given two values and it did not return anything. This is what I would like to show. It did not return anything. Please remember, these things are very, very important for a container. Okay, these things are very, very important for a container, and these are few of the methods. Okay, you can see these are few of the methods. And similarly, sometimes people used to ask me, can I insert container inside a container? Let's try that. If you want to do that, you can use con1 plus equal to con2. This is one way. Con1 equal to con ins, and in the bracket you can say con1 comma second position comma con2. I am asking to insert second container in a first container. Second container in a first container. Let's add a breakpoint and see. So this is how we can add container inside a container. Okay, so if you want to, if you are using any type, that will be the case with a container, or if you are using a list or set or anything with any type. Okay, this is about containers. Yeah, please let me know if you have any questions in the containers.
Kumar, I'm a little bit confused about the positioning 0 and 1 actually. Where it will take 1 or where it
It's
will take
not 0 and 1. If you suppose, let's say you have 4.13. 4.13 is available in the container 1. Then it will return the position of the container. Suppose, let's say you are searching for multiple values, or you are trying to search for this one. What it will do is it will simply return 0. It will go and check if the value exists. Okay, because you
But the
know why
value,
here.
but
Yep,
in the second one, second line 2.222, that is not defined inside the container.
it will
However,
return
I
0, which
know.
is why.
Okay.
Okay, let me do one thing. Let me add a breakpoint here. And actually, whatever you need to do is, if you want to search in this fashion, add 4.13, 5.36, and then 4.26. Because here you can see the position. If it tries to find both the values, they are not in the correct placement. They should be available in the correct placement. Okay, if you want to search for the continuous values, you can try that out. If the values are available, it will return the first position. If they are not available, it will return 0. Okay, now you can see here the position, it will return the second position. 2.2222, it's not available, it will return 0. This is how it works. Two numbers 4.13, 4.26, but they are not in a sequence, it will return 0.
But
Like this,
Kumar, this 2 point, okay. 2.222 is also not there, but you are moving next line, then only it is showing the previous line position actually.
see here, if it is at this line, it has
Yeah,
executed this one, not this one. If I press
correct.
F10, only it will execute this one and then it will move on to the next line. Okay. Now you
Correct.
can see here con1 plus equal to con2. Now you can't see that. If I press F10, then it will add the container inside a container. Okay. Now you can see it has added all the values. Now this is con insert. Now you can see the difference between the con insert and plus equal to. Okay. This is how it works. Now you can see here it has added one more container when I'm using con insert. Whereas coming to this one, it has added the values of this container to this container. That is the difference. Okay, it depends on how you want to take the values, which is why I showed you these two things. Okay, yeah, this is about the containers. Now it's your time. Please let me know if you have any queries. We will start container collection classes from tomorrow. Any queries? If there are no queries, I will end session for everyone. Thanks all for the session. Let's meet again tomorrow same time. Thank you all. Bye.
Thanks, Kumar.